All right. Hey, Gustavo, how's it going, man?
Hey
Good
Terry,
to
how
see
you
you.
doing? I'm great.
We are practicing social distancing. You're all the way in your house. I'm all the way in mine. Great to have you here. Great to be here streaming live, and we're going to talk all things solar. So, for those of you who are joining us live, I will give you an introduction in just a second. I just want to make sure I got the windows up so I can see your various comments that are coming in. We make sure that we can answer and address your questions and talk to you on a more one-on-one basis. Okay, I think I have all the chats open. Ooh, no, I don't have that one open. Hang on. Let's get that one open too.
Yeah, I'm
There
all
we go.
open. It's
I
open
got it all
community.
open. Okay, so now I can see everybody's comments. Cavoff is in. Aaron's in. I can see you guys.
Whoop whoop.
They're kind of like they're just you're your boss. Your boss is there. I can see people
Is
hanging
Kevin in
out.
there?
Yeah, he is. He is.
Mr.
All
Kamune?
right.
Hello, hello.
He didn't say anything yet, but he's there. All right. So again, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday evening, and at least on the East Coast. I know people are watching potentially from all over the world, so welcome. Thank you for joining us here for an evening chat with Better Tomorrow Solar or my buddy Gustavo Arce. So Gustavo, I met him when I had my solar system installed. We're going to be talking all about that. We're going to answer
Correct.
questions. We're going to talk about batteries. We're going to talk about electric vehicles. We're going to talk about pretty much whatever you want to talk about. And I see someone, David, coming all the way in from Toronto, Canada. Hey, David, what's up?
Shout out
And
David.
so, Gustavo, tell us about
Yes.
you and your company. He says,
Alrighty. Well,
Cabo says, I'm listening. Be careful.
gotcha, man. So I'll start off with myself. My name is Gustavo. I'm one of the youngest solar professionals in the state, and I think the southeast as well. I've been in this industry 3 years, going on four. I'm very hungry to see this industry flourish even more, and bring more solar to individuals in the whole Southeast and get them running on clean, beautiful, renewable energy. I'm the sales director of Better Tomorrow Solar, so I'm in charge of making sure anyone who has an interest in solar gets all their questions answered, down to the teeth. If we have to sit down and talk for 2 hours, if you have those 2 hours, I'll sit down with you, or it can be as quickly as a phone call, just answering all your questions.
All right. And
A
for
little
those
bit
of you
about
who
our
know
company.
me, wait, for those of you who know me and know that I'm into tech and know that I'm into Adobe products and graphic design and photography, for as much as I can talk about that stuff, he can talk about solar. He can talk about solar until there's nothing left to talk about nonstop. He's got all the answers. Like I can never stump him. I never come up with an answer or a question that he can't come up with the answer for. So continue. Tell us about your company.
Oh man, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's fun to me, and I took a lot of courses, read a lot of books. I've talked to incredibly smart people in the industry, and I'm just a messenger of the message of solar. A little bit about the company. I think we're one of two women-owned solar companies in the entire state. We try to do our best in bringing down the cost of solar. That way, more people can afford it. So, similar to economies of scale, when you can install and spread a product by the masses, it gets cheaper for everyone. So we're finding that our prices are some of the best in the state. Our timelines are some of the best in the state. Matter of fact, they're close to half of what it takes other solar installers. I think one of the things that's going to make us very special, is we're having a grand opening of our office in Atlanta in the near and coming months. We're going to have a beautiful office, man. And the good thing about that is that we're going to be able to show individuals solar working live, batteries working. We're going to have spray foam. We're going to try to practice what we preach and walk the walk.
All right. So let's talk about let's go from the beginning. There are a lot of people that ask questions about solar. They've asked me questions, some of which I can answer, some I can't. Some I just send directly to you. So let's start at the beginning. So as I think probably everyone on the stream has seen solar panels at some point. You've either seen them on houses, you've seen them on businesses, you may have seen them on the ground, like powering
Ground mounts.
hospitals or government agencies. And the way I like to look at solar is we have this gigantic fusion reactor in the sky that's for free to use. In other words, it's just sitting there, burning every day, allowing you to get energy from it. So why not take advantage of that? Is that fair?
That's correct. I mean,
All right.
the sunlight is free. I'm
Sunlight's
not
free.
sure when it's going to go away.
All right.
And it's just a
Well,
matter
when
of
it
fact
goes
about
away, we won't have to
harnessing
worry
it.
about power anymore. We won't have to worry about anything anymore if it goes away.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about. I know you're going to run through how you would figure out, or how someone would figure out if they're eligible for solar, meaning your house is in a good position from the sun and all that. What I thought I would do just to get people's appetites wet is I'll play a quick video of my installation so people can see what the solar panels look like and kind of get an idea of what it looked like when they were up on the roof installing it and all that. So let's run that clip, and then we'll come back and we'll have you go through your analysis of how someone would get started. Okay, so let's run the clip.
Let's do it.
All right, so that's just giving you guys a little peek at what went into my installation of 26 panels, providing about the slide was wrong. It's actually about 8.2 kilowatt hours.
System.
Is that right?
Correct.
Kilowatt hour
8.2
system.
kilowatts.
And so let's start. So I've seen solar panels. They look cool. It's going to save me on my electric bill, maybe even get rid of my electric bill. How do we start?
All right, that's a great question. First thing we really want to start off with is why solar panels are placed on specific areas of the roof. So if you go outside, you see a roof, you don't just want to put solar all up on everywhere. You want to put the panels at the most highest production areas of the roof. Now, usually when people start off and with the solar search and the solar education, is they go on Google, they type in solar panels in my area, right? For the most part, the first two links that come up is Google Sunroof. I'll place this over here.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready, and I'll switch. I'll switch it. Okay, yeah, we see it.
Gotcha, Google Sunroof. And one of the second websites that pops up.
You can probably minimize that other window.
This one?
Yeah, you can minimize that one. Yep, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, gotcha. This is one of the first websites that pops up. And Google Sunroof does a very good job at a few things, but it's a good starting point. Always remember that. So if we type in an address, maybe 8492 Hearn Road, Palmetto, we see that a building or a house lights up. Some areas are yellow, some areas are orangey, brownish, some areas are less bright. Google Sunroof does a good job at telling you what areas of the roof have the most sun hours. Essentially, what areas of the roof gets the most irradiance throughout the entire year. Now, I guess that's one pro, and one con that you could say Google Sunroof has is that it doesn't do the best job at telling you whether or not your home is a good solar candidate. So I've seen homes like this that say solar panels would not necessarily be the best for you. So again, this is a good starting point to essentially get your feet wet of what areas of your roof get the most solar hours. Now, another website that usually pops up is PV Watts. So this is actually a government website. It's done by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And what people usually do here is they type in the address again, 8492 Earn Road, Palmetto. Palmetto. Okay, somewhere over here. And it gives you kind of like a rough calculator, right? So it brings up the same house. It lets you click on the area of the roof that you ideally would like to put solar on. Play safe. And it gives you like a estimate of how many kilowatts can fit on that area of the roof. Next thing is you go to roof mount. This is where most people kind of get stumbled on is what's the tilt or the degree of the tilt of the panels that are going to be on the roof. And where is the azimuth, essentially where south is. Let's just assume that it's perfectly south facing, exactly 180. This is another area where most common homeowners don't necessarily really know how to analyze the average kilowatt hour rate at what they buy electricity. But let's just say, let's keep that right there. And let's see what PV Watts tells us. So PV Watts is essentially saying how many kilowatt hours per year that system can provide. We find that at times PV Watts is 15% too optimistic or too conservative. So again, this is a good starting point, but you should contact a certified solar installer so you can get the crispy exact numbers. Now, those are two good starting points. But what we like to do is we like to take it a step above, right? Can you see this, Terry? The home?
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, gotcha. So this is one of our softwares. We have a couple. This is just one that was pretty easy to design a 3D model home. Essentially, if a customer comes to us, they tell us, hey, I want to see how much panels can fit and what they can do for me. The first thing is we take a look at where the home is and we do a 3D model. Okay. Basically, we take into account the pitch of the roof, the area of the roof, where the roof is facing, the tree obstructions, if there is any. We do a 3D model. We also have this cool tool, LiDAR, light detection ranging waves. Essentially, they do a pretty good job at showing where and how high the trees are, which allows us to put in our own trees so they can give us an even better idea of how much those areas of the roof and those panels can produce. So once we do all that, we go to the irradiance. Irradiance is just another fancy word for saying the energy that the sunlight carries, okay? And again, very similar to what Google Roof gave us, is it's indicating that this roof, this side of the roof, is the highest producing roof, as well as
All
this.
right, hang on. Gustavo, I'm all of a sudden getting an echo from you. I don't know if anyone else hears it, but I hear it. So I don't know if that other tab is open with your mic.
It is open, but it's closed.
All right. Hang on. Keep talking.
So the second thing you really want to do.
Yep. The echo went away.
Gotcha. Maybe I need to slow it down. I get excited sometimes.
I don't think it was you. But go on.
Okay. So the reason that this happens is because of the phenomena of sun rises in the east and sets on the west, right? We've all heard that. So I'm going to show you a quick animation as to why this is the case. All right. So this animation does a pretty good job at showing us where the sun rises at different times of the year. Okay? So on June 21st, we call that the summer solstice. On that day, the sun will be highest in the sky, or the tilt of the earth, you know. So we can see that in the summer, shadows are shorter. And again, since the tilt is like this, like a south way, we see that the is area of the roof gets the maximum sun hours, even in winter when it's the winter solstice. Again, this area gets the best solar irradiance all throughout the year. That's why when I said you don't want to put solar all over the roof, is because you can, no one's going to stop you, but these areas are the highest producing areas of the roof. Next thing you want to do is evaluate how much energy you're using, right? Because you don't want to overbuild the system, you don't want to underbuild the system. You want to find the optimal amount to give you the best ways to meet your goals. Some
And
people want to.
that's a very good point, because if you overbuild a system, what that means is that you paid for solar panels that's producing energy that either you're not using because you've already used up all that you needed, or you're sending it back to the grid at pennies on the dollar that aren't worth the cost of the panels. So you don't want to overbuild it, and underbuilding it, that's up to you and your budget.
Correct. You want to find the optimal amount. And it's important for the solar consultant to lay that out for the individual, the homeowner, because maybe a smaller system, it might be something that they can afford at the time, but it won't give you the maximum benefit that the medium system or the larger system could. So we would find your utility. We're just using Greystone, for example. And you want to find the correct rate, residential rate, utility rate. And you can double check this with going on your utility's website. Essentially, it tells you exactly how much you're paying for every kilowatt hour. It also tells you the service charges. And for the most part, if you see your bill, most utilities do a good job at breaking down every dollar of what you're paying them. You'll be able to see other fees that don't necessarily are based on the electricity you use. It's just interesting fees that utilities like to can out onto the customer. So let's just say that for the month of June, this person was using about 178 bucks, and maybe in the winter they're using about $140 worth of electricity. Go back here. It's taking a second.
And while that's loading, Kavoff asked, how does net metering affect the size of the system?
So, at least in Georgia, net metering, to qualify for that, with Georgia Power, you have to go under the tariff of R&R, renewable and non-renewable and renewable tariff. Essentially, it's an application and an agreement that you do with Georgia Power and other utilities, EMCs. First of all, to even get that, your system has to be under 10 kW AC. Essentially, what that net metering does is for every kilowatt that your system produces and you send back to the grid, the utility would credit you at the end of the month for that kilowatt hour. So as opposed to the utility of taking that kilowatt hour that you produce, paying you at that instant, they're going to do the count at the end of the month. Okay, he produced 100, he used 50, he sent back 50 kilowatt hours, and he only used 50 from us. Those 50 that you sent back and those 50 that you bought from them will cancel each other out. So in the perfect situation, you will have paid only the base fee that the utility charges. So that's important to know and to truly understand, because that means that you can build a little bit larger system on average of how much electricity you use per month throughout the year, because you are able to send some back, sell some back. And depending on the customer, that you won't necessarily need to buy the battery if you didn't want to.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about batteries. Yep.
Gotcha. So yeah, this system right here, it's about 33 panels. It's 10.39 kW. So let's just, for example's sake, take that panel off, take this panel off. Now this is 10 kW DC. Basically, this would convert to about, what's 0.85 of 9, maybe 8.8 AC. So this technically would qualify for net metering. Next thing is, we build the system, we place the panels on the highest producing areas of the roof. We would simulate that. And this is taking into account weather data, tree obstructions, the tilt of the roof, the angle of the panels, what type of panels they are, how much you're producing and using throughout the day. And it gives you a pretty good sense of the energy that you produce and the savings from your bill. One interesting thing you'll note is that energy produced won't necessarily match savings of your bill because of the different rate structures. So you might be able to produce 100% of your energy, having that metered, but you will see that you still have to pay a base fee.
Yeah, so like in my case, my system, I use more electricity than my system can even generate. But at the same time, it's generating more during certain hours of the day than I use. So we're going to talk about what to do in that case. Mm-hmm. But even if your system is generating, is capable of generating enough electricity to not wipe out your bill, it will usually pay for itself over time. Meaning that the investment you made in solar, the discount on the bill, will eventually pay for the panels themselves after X number of years, and that's part of the quote as well.
Correct. And it's very important to really see that and determine what you're comfortable with. The way I see it is that, can you see me, by the way?
Yeah.
Or are you seeing the screen? So the way I see solar is
now we see you.
The system, for the most part, it's always going to pay for itself. It's just going to take a different amount of time for each system, right? Depends on your usage, your consumptions, your utilities, the weather. An average in Georgia, the payback is 8 to 12 years. And that's just including some of the incentives in Georgia. Places like California, Massachusetts, they have more incentives and net metering in all the entire states. So their payback period tends to be better in Georgia. Still, Georgia's coming up.
That brings up another question. So you went over the system that you used to show how you would calculate the number of panels, how much they would produce, so forth and so on. But what if I've got like a gigantic backyard? I don't, but what if someone has a gigantic backyard? Do you guys ever put panels on the ground, like on stands or whatever? Or are they only on the roof?
Those are more commonly known as ground mounts. And if you, this individual right here, this homeowner, he has great land right here. He actually also has property over here, a couple acres. And we could also put ground mounts. Of course, that does get a little bit more expensive if it's a smaller system. So like if you ever drive down South Georgia, you'll see farms and farms and farms of solar on ground mounts. And that gets cheaper with the more that you do. That is a possibility though.
Okay.
Next thing is, should I include a battery? Now, this is where a consultant really has to know your needs and what you want the battery for, okay? So for example, you, Terry, let's just use you for example. We built your system last year. We made sure to get you a 30% tax credit because this year is going to be 26%. We said, okay, let's wait some time to have a battery installed. Right now, we're seeing, based on the data that we have from your bills, is that you've been sending a good amount back to utility. I was going to tell you, you should turn down or up your AC and live a little bit more comfortably, live how you want to live. That way you're using all your electricity. Make sure you stay nice and cool, at least in
Yeah.
May.
So yeah, and we have made some adjustments along the way, like charging the cars during those
The
peak
day.
sun hours.
Correct.
Doing all the laundry during those hours. So just trying to run as much electricity during those sun generating hours as possible, as opposed to the evening. And that also brings up another point. Like my utility finally started offering an EV rate or an electric vehicle rate, which basically means they'll give you dirt cheap electricity at night, but very expensive electricity during the day.
Correct.
And I think you did the math on it, and it wasn't worth it for me based on my usage because I'm home all day working from home.
Correct.
So
And we didn't
like
have the battery to take
when
into
do those
account.
because a lot of people are on those kind of rates where or those plans where they pay more during the day than they do at night. So maybe you are doing the laundry at night and the charging of the cars at night and all of that stuff. So when does it make sense to be on one of those plans with solar or not?
So those are commonly known as time of use plans. Your EV TOU, time of use rate, for some reason your utility wouldn't let you combine the solar and the EV rate. Not sure why. It might be a good question to ask. But
I'm sure you will.
so with battery, right? The correct way to approach this is you want to be able to have more energy produced from the solar panels and be able to store in your battery. That way, when you do have those super on peak rates, you'll be able to tap into your battery and use that electricity that you produce during the day and use that at those times. That way, you won't have to use the very expensive electricity from the utility. So you avoid the super on peak rates. After that, you use the grid. Again, that's dirt cheap, maybe a couple cents for the kilowatt hour. That's how you can approach that situation.
Yeah, and speaking of batteries, for those of you who are on the stream, like, what does he mean by a battery? We're talking double A's, D batteries? No, we're talking about those like 4 foot by 8 foot batteries, like the Tesla
batteries.
Powerball is an example. So if you've ever seen, if you ever Googled or looked at a Tesla Powerwall, that is essentially a battery. Now, the batteries can be used for one of two things or both. Backup power, like, you lose electricity, power lines get cut, whatever. Then you're running off the battery that got charged during the day, or at any time over the grid. But it can also be used to store that excess energy, like in my case that I'm generating, that I don't get to use all of it all day long. So generate electricity from the solar panels during the day. Whatever I don't use gets sent to the battery. Whatever the battery has in it powers the house at night. That's basically how a battery could work in my case.
Exactly. And it's called lithium ion. That's kind of what's in your phone and a lot of higher end products like a drill. The two main lithium ions that I won't get too much into the weeds of the actual chemistry, but the two main lithium ions that dominate the residential storage is NMC, nickel, magnesium, and cobalt. That's what Tesla uses. Then there's LFP. I won't get too deep into it, but that one is a lot more expensive. And also, I guess it comes with a higher warranty. Sonnen uses that. It's a little chemistry lesson 101.
Got it. Yeah, don't get too deep in the woods. You're gonna lose me.
Yeah, I try to contain myself sometimes.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna go off on the deep.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So, and that brings up the next question. So, someone looking at a system, do they build it with the battery in mind up front? Do they add the battery later? Do they build a small system first, see how it goes, and add panels later? Like, how do you, as a solar consultant installer, recommend someone go forward with their solar project?
The first thing I always see, I analyze the data. get
Right. So you've done
bills.
that. We saw the
We
model.
did
You've
that.
analyzed it. They
I
know if I
asked,
build this system, or this system, I'm going to get this much electricity out of it. Then what?
next thing is I asked the homeowner what they want to do if they're considering a battery. If they tell me, I want to be able to run during an outage, okay, there's going to be that way of building the battery. Next thing they want to do is, I want to avoid the time of use super peak charges. There's going to be a different way of programming the battery. But a product like, for example, Tesla is called an AC battery. Essentially, for like, so your system, right? We use the panel, a microinverter. So when we do add the battery there, it's completely compatible with the system. You could put 3 batteries, 2 batteries, 1 battery. It's kind of like we built the solar system to be able to add to it. You can also add more solar. And remember, we're going to be doing that to the other side of the roof. So
Yep.
you want to ask the customer what they want to do. And let's take another example. They want to be able to not have the fridge, not have the food in the fridge go to waste in case of a battery out of a power outage. So what we would do is we call it an essential loads panel. We would ask you, what's the most important things to you in this house to power during a grid outage? The common ones are a fridge, Wi-Fi, master bedroom, a few outlets, a few lights. You don't necessarily want to connect your whole home and the AC and the well pump and the water pump because it's going to drain the battery, you know. Uh,
My answer to that
Cabe
would be,
won't,
I want more batteries. I want that stuff on
and
when
that's
the
not
power is off.
that's not 10 batteries. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Let's. We're gonna do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we would present that to the homeowner. This is what it would do. This is how much it's going to protect you for during the grid outage. And there's also different scenarios. Like customers at first, they want to take a taste of what solar can do. So they might be able to start off with a small system. We have a customer in Lawrenceville. They are going to be adding a battery. They're going to be adding an even larger system. But they said, hey, let's start small. Let's see what this can do for us. And they start off with, I think, 12 or 14 panels. We're going to analyze the data, see how much they save. They're also under Georgia Power. So once Georgia Power rolls out their net metering changes, they're going to, you could call it grandfathered into the system, and they're going to be paid for the, I think they're calling it like retroactive. If they sold any in the past 2 months back to Georgia Power, they're going to be credited a larger amount. So that's also an option, but it's important for the professional to let the customer know this system is going to do this for you. This system, a larger system is going to do this, and a system with battery is going to be able to do this much.
All right. So let's talk about time frame. So the reason I approached you guys last fall was I wanted to take advantage of the 30% tax credit before it ended before
Correct.
2019. So, because I knew that tax credit would go down to 26% this year, which is still not bad,
Correct.
but 30% is better than 26%. So, you guys got me installed, you got me up and running before the end of the year, which was great. And it's great. So, if somebody was looking to get a system installed, you've done the analysis, you've done the quote, they pick an option, then what?
Next thing is the timeline, right? So first, I just want to talk about what you touched on first is the solar investment tax credit, ITC. Last year it was 30%, 2019. So that means that your system has to be installed before December 31st, 2019. If that was installed January 1st, you would have got this one right here, 26%. So for this year, we have to get all the systems installed before December 31st of 2020. After that's 22%. And then unfortunately, it's going down to 0. So if anyone has ever considered solar battery storage, Do it this year. Do it before the summer rates, because usually electricity gets way more expensive in the summer. Um, and have a company be able to do it in the shortest amount of time possible, which is the next thing I'll get into. So actually, and I do want to mention this 4% difference, based on our customers and based on the numbers that we ran, this 4% difference adds a year to the payback of your system. So if you got a payback of, let's say, 8 years or 9 years with a 30% ITC tax credit, you'd get a payback of 9 to 10 years with a 26% tax credit.
Another reason I'm glad I did it when I did. I wish
Correct.
I'd done it sooner. So I got a few people joining that came in a little bit after we got started. So I see Evie Travis in the house,
My boy.
Tori Hunton, George, Rob Freeman. We have someone all the way from Australia. Such
Nice.
developments. We should be building Tesla big battery in South Australia. That'd be awesome.
That would.
And let's see, Nadia, great to see you here as well as
Hey, Nadia.
Donald Jones from Mackinac City, and lots of people joining in. All right,
Should we
so
announce it?
um, I think it's probably time we should announce your form that we want people to for giveaways they can
Oh,
fill
yeah.
out.
So we're going to be giving away some small things. We had gotten these bags. That way, when you go to a grocery store, you can reduce the amount of plastic that you get from them. We're going to be giving out 75 for free. We'll be covering shipping in the U.S. If you're out of the U.S., please contact us, and we'll contact you, and we'll talk about it. But the form is going to be posted by Terry. If you fill out
I'm
that
doing it
form,
now.
give us your address, your name, and your email. We'll let you know when we send these out. Give us a couple weeks, but we're going to get these to your home. We're also going to be giving complimentary solar assessments, and a shade report. That way, you give us your address, and we'll be able to tell you, hey, this is what solar can potentially do for you. This is the shading areas of concern. You might want to check if the tree's healthy. If it's not healthy, there are ways of cutting it down if it's not healthy. Kave, I don't know if Kave is still on there, but Kave is a big tree proponent. And of course, we're not going to recommend to cut a tree down because in the long run, a tree will help you out more with shading and keeping the house cool than for the most part solar. So
That's a
we
good
just
point.
want we want to let folks know. Another little campaign that we're running is in response to the whole COVID-19 situation. We want to be able to do our part and not just what we do that we're a solar company, but how we do it. So from the month of April to June 31st, any agreements and any installations that we do, any profit that we do get, we're going to donate it to nonprofits in Atlanta who are helping out people affected by the whole COVID-19 situation. We find that this company came about because, yeah, it's great that you're a solar company, but it's about what type of solar company you are. Again, like I said, we're one of the few solar companies that are women owned. So we just want to be different about how we go about doing things.
It's very generous of you guys to donate your profits to people affected here in Georgia by COVID-19.
And another thing I
All
forgot to
right,
mention, we're going to be
go
giving
ahead.
you a list of resources compiled by yours truly. Basically, some of the things that we did and didn't go over on this live session. So you're going to see which utilities are offering cash incentives to go solar. You're going to get some resources about nets metering, some resources about the federal tax incentive, some more educational material about solar in Georgia, the cost, the payback period, information about property value increases, and some solar policies by the Georgia Solar Association. So we're going to send that directly to you when you fill out that link. And you'll also be able to see some of the exclusive discounts for some different causes and for different folks. So be on the lookout for that. Fill out that link. You're going to get a bunch of free stuff.
Very cool. All right, so yeah, fill out the form. You guys can not only get some free stuff, but you guys are not. It's not a contest. You're actually giving away some stuff if they fill out the form until you run out. So
Correct.
yes, you're not competing. It's just fill out the form if you want free stuff. Um, well, I know that I haven't seen a ton of questions come up, but now before we're running over an hour, so if you guys have any, actually no, we're 40 minutes. If you have any questions before we get to an hour or before we call it a night, let
I
us
got
know
a
what those
question.
questions are regarding solar. For those of you just who popped in a little later, again, this is Gustavo from Better Tomorrow Solar. And of course, I'm Terry White. You're on my channel. You already know me. So these guys put in my solar system, which I can quickly show you here. This is what it looks like. And that's a 26 panel, 8.2 kilowatt hour system. And it has, I've only gotten, since the system's been online, I've only gotten 3 electric bills so far. Most of those were winter bills, so there wasn't a lot of sun. And also, we've been getting a ton of rain, so
February.
that also is a
Scary.
factor. Right. But anyway, this last bill that I got definitely dropped almost in half of the same month, same time frame the year before.
Wow.
So I'm waiting for it to even go down more, and he and I are gonna be talking about batteries because I think I'm sending more than I'm comfortable sending back to the grid.
Oh yeah.
But we'll see.
Also, let me ask you a question, Terry. So you
Yep.
are one of our most interesting cases, right? So you start off
Oh no, I
with
don't want to be
technology
an interesting case.
in a good way. You start
I
off
want to
being
be
a technology
that
fan.
average case that works out perfectly.
So you start off loving technology, right?
Yep.
Cameras. Then what transitioned you into like the electric vehicle and then solar? Like, what was your mindset or what was your ideas?
Well, yeah, for the electric vehicles, I mean, it just made sense. So, such developments, by the way, the first question is asking, do you install outside the U.S.? I don't know. I'm going to guess no, but you answer
Not
that.
yet, maybe.
Not yet. Okay. So there's a not yet. Um, so being a tech guy, the electric vehicle that was an easy path from
Right.
gas based or what we call them ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles.
Correct.
And Tesla in particular, just since I am in the tech, I love the tech behind their cars and just software downloads or on a regular basis to add new features, things like that were unheard of. From a car manufacturer, and also the fact that it is built in the U.S. It is buy it online. They basically hit all the points that drive me crazy about other things. I didn't have a hard sales pitch. I was able to go order my car online, go pick it up when it was built, and then and I've been driving it ever since and been very happy. As a matter of fact, we added a second one. So. The electric vehicle, that was just a natural thing from a tech standpoint, and also the fact of never having to go to a gas station ever, and plugging my car in at night like I do my cell phone. So not having to ever think about stopping at a gas station, being out of gas, and you always have to stop at a gas station when it's inconvenient, by the way, because we never plan ahead.
Running late to a meeting.
Running late to a meeting. Oh crap. Tank.
Late to your house.
Yeah, right. Late to your house. Yeah, exactly. So in my case, it was a no-brainer, and just waking up on full every day, that's even makes it icing on the cake. And then for the solar stuff, it was actually Cava that I met him at one of the actually one of the Earth Day events, I think it was.
Yep.
And he answered all my questions in a non-pushy way, and that's what I guess convinced me to investigate you guys even further. And just going again, timing it with the tax credit. Wait, I can get 30% off. Bill's going to go down. Those two things combined can kind of help pay for the system. Why not? And get it over with and be done with it. And so again, glad I did. No regrets. So Tori's asking, did I have HOA, and if so, was it a problem getting approved? And second part, Gustavo, do you work with Cobb EMC, or does that even matter? So I answer the first part, you answer the second part. So for me, yes, we do have an HOA. No, it was not a problem. I'll just leave it at that. Go ahead.
I remember that.
Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I'll just say that.
And even when you do have to ask for permission, we're finding that HOAs, man, they're a lot more receptive to this whole solar thing. I think a lot of the covenants and a lot of the I guess, bylaws of the HOA were written 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And back in the day, modules weren't the most attractive things. Now,
yeah, they didn't look beautiful. They didn't look like, they didn't look high tech. They didn't look cool like this back in the day. And the other thing too, in my case, I'm lucky because those panels are not facing the main road. They're not facing. You wouldn't even know they're there unless you were to drive into the cul-de-sac and look up at the roof to see them. So it's not like anyone could complain that, oh, I don't like the way they look. They're not good for the neighborhood, because you can't really see them anyway.
Right, exactly. Did you see this panel?
I've not. Ooh, I like it.
So this is, I guess, a miniature solar panel. It's not connected to anything, not a microinverter, DC optimizer. But it's just a sample. Solar panels about, what's that, maybe 1.5 inches or so. They're all black. They're very sleek looking. You can barely even see anything. And I like to say solar panels look like really big iPhones now. So we have been in discussions with HOAs, and we let them know, hey, solar helps the homeowner like this, but it also helps the community like this. And we're going to be including a couple of links to ways you can help your HOA see the value in solar in the giveaway. It's not a giveaway, we're just sending out resources. But yeah, we do work with HOAs if needed. Second thing, Cobb EMC. Cobb EMC is great to work with. They're quicker than average, and they understand this whole solar process, and they understand where it's going as well. So yes, we can help.
I would imagine you guys work with all the providers in Georgia as far as electricity is concerned. So yeah, that makes sense.
There are
and
some
such developments from Australia is sending you emails and contact info. They're really interested in working with you. So maybe you'll have your first installation abroad.
I wouldn't mind going to Australia.
Yeah, well, not now.
You heard that, Kave?
Maybe later.
Yeah, true. Actually true.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, maybe some people are wondering. Just got this question today. How the whole COVID-19 situation is affecting the industry.
Okay, that's a good question.
At least in the supply chain, we have seen some delays in shipments. I guess more with the utility and the inspections. We have seen some slight delays with getting people approved and connected to the utilities. One thing that I have noticed that is incredibly interesting is that we've been getting so many more questions about solar plus battery, because people are kind of wanting to be prepared in case something ever crazy happens, The grid, I read somewhere that the grid is the second most vulnerable, I guess, utilities in the event of a shock to the system. So right behind the public health situation, the grid is incredibly vulnerable. So people now more than ever are wanting solar plus battery so they can essentially become their own utility and be as independent as possible.
Well, that's definitely where I'm headed. I definitely want to be solar plus battery in the not too distant future, or maybe this year. Because again, even though I did the 30% tax credit last year for the system I installed, if I add a single panel plus batteries, I get to take advantage of the 26% credit this year. And as a result, I didn't owe taxes this year or last last filing. I
Yeah.
got a refund instead. So the tax credits definitely help.
Oh yeah.
EB Travis is asking a question about the panels and the technologies, or the technology and the panels themselves. Have they evolved much? And I think I asked you that question too, and you said they evolved quite a bit.
Correct. So technology is evolving. Maybe decades ago, you can only fit 1 watt or 2 watts in this area. Technology has evolved to where you can fit maybe 10 or 15 watts. So you've essentially reduced the amount of surface area required to produce the electricity. There's also been other
Okay.
technological advances with the actual the elements used to make the solar, and to make it more, I guess, resilient in extreme weather conditions. So solar is evolving. You also see the Tesla tiles, the Tesla roof.
Yep.
We don't foresee them being in Georgia for another 8 to 10 years. One reason is policy. You can do your own research, but solar in Georgia could be such a leading force in the leading economy in Georgia if there's a little bit more support from the policy side.
Yeah. Tell me
So
about it. Well, let's not go down that rabbit
yeah.
hole. So a couple of other questions. EV Shelley's asking, have you
Hey
ever had a
Shelly.
customer ask to remove the panels so that they can move with them, so they can take them to their next house?
Yeah, so we get those questions all the time. Yes, we can do that. What some people like to do is, since solar, according to studies, raises the value of the home, um, people sell the solar with the home and at times buy a whole new system. You also do, and if you do move the system when you move, you want to make sure that the warranties, make sure you look into how the warranties are, because you want to continue to have the warranty and the coverage for the panels. Make sure
Got
it's a
it.
certified individual as well.
All right. And hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Kaji or Kaji? Pardon my dumb question, but is there such thing as a colored solar panel, i.e., solar panels that sort of match the rest of the house? Now, I know that there are solar roofs, like Tesla's
Mm-hmm.
roof, that will match the tiles of your house. But what about panels? Do they come in different colors? Good question.
For the most part, they're only black or they're bluish greenish. There isn't.
So,
I
no.
haven't seen any red ones. No,
So, no, you
not
don't
yet.
get to
Maybe.
design. Design would be, well, and that would also present some interesting challenges, but also probably some maybe easier to get approved with HOAs if they were all a consistent color and design for that
Right.
community. So good to know. Tori asked it, or he's basically just, can you repeat, because his broadcast got interrupted when you asked the question about that power company, GMC or whatever it was, EMC.
EMC.
Yeah, the power company that you said he asked if you work with. Well, I forgot which one it was,
Oh, copy EMC.
but yeah, the Cobb EMC. So the answer was yes. You work with all the power companies here in Georgia.
Correct.
Okay.
And a really neat thing that most homeowners can do, all homeowners, is you can really call your EMC or utility and ask them, hey, what's the process with you all to go solar? For the most part, we already know the standard process of that each EMC decides to take. But you can also do it yourself. Hey, what's the process for going solar as a homeowner? What do I need to do? And who should I contact? Sometimes they
Okay.
won't necessarily point you to a solar installer. For that, you can listen to Terry and contact us.
And Kavoff is responding to the color panel question with from a technology standpoint. Um, Color, or the panels have to attract light. Lighter colors will reflect light away. So there's a reason why they're the solid colors that they are, and not other colors, because they have to actually function.
There
That
you
makes
go.
sense. But I don't think it was a dumb question. I think it was a good question. I never
Yeah,
thought of it that way. Yeah.
we get that all the time,
All
actually.
right. See if I see any more questions. Now's the time. We got about 6 minutes left. Then we'll end it right on the hour.
Electric
Any other
vehicles.
questions?
How are we feeling
Show the
about that
panel.
Cybertruck, Terry?
Phyllis, I think the cyber. Okay, so I get this question all the time from day one. What do I think about? Am I getting a Cybertruck? No, I have no interest in trucks. Do I think the Cybertruck's cool? Yes, from the standpoint, and I had the same initial reaction that most of us had. Oh my God, what the hell is that? When I first saw it, but woke up the next day and it kind of grew on me overnight. Like just thinking about it, because the reason that it was so shocking in the way that it looked was because everyone had it already made up in their mind what it should look like. You
Correct.
picture a pickup truck that was, had a nice grill on it, that was electrified. That was it. And it was not that. And so that kind of just, ruined everyone's expectation. Oh my God, the thing's horrible. It's hideous. And then when the sale started, it was just like selling through the roof in pre-orders at least.
Money
To the
talks.
tune of
BS
over
walks.
250,000. Then people kind of started changing their mind. Oh, maybe this thing will do well. And I think for if you're a Ford F-150 or a Dodge Ram or a Chevy, whatever theirs is, truck person, you're probably still going to stick with those brands, and you just wait. If you want electric, you're probably just going to wait for those to be electric. But what this is appealing to is people that maybe didn't really have a specific truck. Maybe this is their first one, and they didn't have a specific brand in mind. So that's why I think so many people are putting down at least money to pre-order it sight unseen. All right, EV Shelley's asking again, can I take my solar panels down and move with them and install them in a new home if say, a buyer doesn't want them?
Yeah, for sure.
So
For
the
sure.
answer is yeah, they
Absolutely.
can be removed. Okay. Can you
Just
can
fill
you
in
remove?
those holes.
Let's say you were retiring and you weren't going to have a house anymore, and the new buyer didn't want them. Is there resale? Like, can you take them down and resell them? Does any of that work?
I'm sure people would buy them. The
Okay.
what I would probably ask is how old they are, what type of panel they are, what's the electrical components that they may have. I also got to see the railing that they're on. That's a great question. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in the recycled
And
panels industry.
you're in the installation, not removing of them.
Yeah, that's a good question though, because that's going to be coming up more and more. The panels that were installed 30 years ago, 45 years ago, I'm not sure the amount to be honest, but
Yeah.
if you think about the panels installed now, like last year, in 25 years, what's going to happen? They're obviously still going to be producing a considerable amount, but
Right.
maybe some people want to upgrade to the newest and greatest thing that's out there.
Right. And I would probably say if you're going to move in the short term, then
Mm-hmm.
it's probably best to go ahead and wait till you move and get the panels installed in a new house. But if you're planning on sticking around in the house you're in for, let's say, 5 years, then that's when you think about, okay, do I wait 5 years or do I install them now and take them with me? And what are panels going to be like 5 years from now? Are they going to be that much better, produce that much more electricity, so forth and so on? So I guess it would really depend on your moving time frame. But yeah, Shelly, you can definitely have them uninstalled and take them with you.
I'll do it for you, Shelly. I'll come
And
out
Tori's
there.
asking, what's the shelf life on panels? Like, is there a shelf life? Do they degrade just sitting on the shelf or not produce as much power if they sit on the shelf for, let's say, 2 or 3 years?
So usually, what it's standard in the industry is it's called the linear production warranty. For the most part, tier one panels, tier ones are the most reputable panels on the market. Um, they do degrade a certain amount per year, and the linear warranty essentially says that in 25 years, 2.5 decades, your panel will produce either 90%, 86%, or 80% of what they originally had produced. Um, Obviously, panels that have a lower degradation rate are going to be more expensive than panels with, I guess, a higher degradation rate.
Makes
And
sense.
in the first year, panels is about 2% of the production. I mean, that's what if you use this phone for 25 years, where's it going to be?
Yeah, well, if it probably won't even connect to anything in 25 years, but if it did, the battery's I'm sure going to be shot on it anyway. All right. Well, we're pretty much right on time, right at the end of the hour. So I want to thank you, Gustavo. We've been planning to do this for a while. I'm glad we finally. Sorry it took a pandemic to make it happen. But I'm glad we finally pulled it together and had you on as a guest to my channels and my streams. So. Better Tomorrow Solar, if you're in the Georgia area, check them out. I recommend them. And if you just want to get answers to your questions about solar, he's a good guy. He'll answer them anyway, even if he's not going to sell you a system. Yeah. All right. So, and there's his Twitter, and you guys can find him here on Facebook and anywhere else you are. You're on Instagram. Yeah, you're everywhere. Fill out the link that's in the chat, and you can get some goodies, get some freebies.
Get some goodies, get some freebies. Terry, thank you so much. Very grateful for you, Victoria, for always supporting us. Now that you're the president of the chapter,
of the Atlanta EV Hybrid Group, yes.
Correct. Yeah. So you're there.
So and we're streaming on that. We're streaming on their Facebook page as well. So people can go back and watch the replay. All right, so I'm going to take us out, and thank you again, Gustavo. Again, thanks for the giveaways that you're giving people that watch this, and the life of the PV is 30 years, 66% efficiency, so they will last past the warranty period. Just add them, just add to them. All right, I agree. So just do it. All right. With that said, cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Have a great night, everyone.